Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Fleet Farming Education for Kids. My name is Sarah, and I'm the Fleet Farming Education Manager at Fleet Farming, and I am farming from my own home today. Just like you guys and everybody else around the world, we're kind of in the situation. So we're going to try to bring you some education, some fun. And today we have a really, really great lesson that we're going to jump into. But before we talk about that, I just want to remind you guys of our mission. So our mission of Fleet Farming is how to grow your own food. And a lot of us, expect just to go to the grocery store every day and that's how we get our food, but that is so far from the truth. We have so many farmers everywhere working hard to get those crops ready so they can bring it to the grocery stores and then they can bring them to your own table. But why not learn how to grow your own food right in your backyard? And so we're going to learn how to do that today, you and me. So we're going to wait a little bit for people to get on. I know we have some late risers and sometimes we have, life gets in the way and sometimes we just have to have a snack before this happens. So we're trying to finish a snack. But I do want to remind everybody of the supplies needed for this lesson. So we'll need my garden plan or planner. You can find this is just my plan. You can find this worksheet on our Facebook invite in the description, or you can go onto our Instagram and our bio, and you can click on the picture that says Fleet Education for Kids, and it's also in the bio there. So you can print that out. Don't print if you don't have a printer though. You can draw this super easily. All you need is a piece of paper. You can write in your crayons or your markers, whatever you choose, my garden plan. You can draw three lines this way, and then you can draw your fruit and veggies wherever you feel like you want to plant your veggies. And we'll get to that later, but have your template ready because we'll be going through that together. We'll also need later in the lesson, we'll be seeding together, so you'll need some seeds. If you don't have seeds, that's okay. Go into your fridge, get a tomato, get a cucumber. You also can use zucchini if you know what a zucchini looks like. You can use squash. You can use butternut squash. All those things are in my fridge right now, and all you have to do is scrape out the seeds and put them on a piece of paper, and you can plant them right later. If you don't have time for that, again, don't worry. We're going to save this video so you can log on later and seed later with your family once your seeds are done drying and are not gooey and you can handle them better. You can learn with us later in that segment. So I think we're all ready to go. So I just want to warm up a bit. I want to stretch out. Let's all stand up. Sorry, we'll move my computer real quick. Just stand up. Let's clap twice. Let's turn around. Let's shake it all out. Wait, are we bunnies right now? Did Easter just happen? We're not little bunnies. We're farmers. So I want you to grab that hat I told you about. I didn't tell you about it. I'm sorry. You need to grab a hat too. You need to put it on because we're farmers today. And I want to make sure that we're thinking like a farmer too. So put your farming hat on and we're going to start this show, okay? So now that you have a thinking cap on, in the comments below, you can put a sprout emoji, you can put any plant emoji, or you can comment on the pop-up on your screen. What are the 5 needs of a plant to grow? I need 5 needs. What are 5 important needs for a plant to grow big and strong? So I can think on the top of my head 1. And I'm sure you guys are typing in the comments, but sunlight. We need sunlight. But plants need sunlight to grow, to make their own food, right? They need temperature, a specific temperature, right? Which we're gonna learn about more soon. And we have water. I need water, plants need water. Most living beings, like your cat or your dog, they also need water to grow big and strong. And we need air. So we breathe in oxygen, but plants need that carbon dioxide to make their food. It helps in the process. And they need soil, good, nutritious soil. Obviously, we don't eat soil because ew, but we do put a lot of good, healthy nutrients, vitamins in our bodies to make us big and strong. Let me see those big muscles that you have. I know you have them. Show me your muscles. Okay, good job. So they should be, again, sunlight, temperature, water, air, and soil. You guys are so smart. So the first step in planning our learning garden is knowing the temperature, like we just said. It's very important. So when I went out this morning, it was kind of cool a little bit. It was like low 72, maybe 74 degrees. And right now it's getting to be almost noon, so it's cranking up there. But I wouldn't say it's like 90 yet, but it's getting there. It's like 80 degrees or so, a little humid. But it's hard to say that, and then it's going to drop back down at night again to be 72, maybe 75, depending on the day. So this is the normal temperatures that we see during the springtime in Florida. So again, it's hard to tell sometimes by walking outside, so you could grab your phone. Our phones these days, your parents' phones, they have the weather reports right there for you to look at. If you can't grab a phone, you can go on your computer and you can Google or research the weather for today. And if you don't have a computer and you have the newspaper will also tell you the weather report. So those are all ways of finding what the weather is today. Also, you can turn on the news, and the news will tell you the weather today. So temperature is really important to understand what we can grow. So temperatures like these are springtime. We're in the peak of spring. We're in April. That's the second step in understanding what day it is. We'll get there. But before we get there, know that there's a certain range where plants can grow. So we just got over the cool season. So our cool season was December through February. That's when our cool weather came around. That was called winter, right? So now we're going into spring, and it warms up a little bit, but the soil, note that the soil is always 10 degrees cooler than you're outside. So if you walk outside and it's like 80 degrees, your soil is going to be probably about 70, 75 degrees. So knowing that, we're going to ask another question. What is the range of temperature that plants like to grow in? So this is the range. This will pop up on your screen too if you can't see it. But what is the range? And you can also comment in the comments below the ideal range for plants to grow in. Okay, so the first one is 68 to 86 degrees. The next one is 75 to 90 degrees. The next one is 60 to 80 degrees. And letter D is 80 to 100. So comment a letter and let me know. And there, if you guys answered A, you are correct. So the ideal range, so the range again is a set of numbers that you have on a scale. So all the scientists out there, they have a scale, like 1 to 10, for example, and there's a set of numbers in between. So that's pretty much a range. So the range of that's ideal for plants to grow in temperature-wise is 68 to 86 degrees. Okay, any hotter, some seeds won't grow. Any colder, some seeds won't grow. So seeds are kind of finicky sometimes, so it's good to pay attention to temperature. But the next thing here, the next step that we need to understand, now that we know that this weather is not only ideal for us, it's also ideal for plants, we need to understand what day it is. So I don't know about you guys, but I don't know what day it is today. I've been in the house for way too long. My days are blending together. I don't know what day it is. So figure out what day it is. I usually grab my calendar. Okay, this is April. If you can't see it, this is April. Or I could grab my phone or go on my computer. And today is April 14th. It's 11/11. Make a wish. 11/11. Make a wish. Anyways, it's April 14th, and it is the peak of spring. So our months of spring are everywhere between March and May. So March, April, May are spring months, and then June through probably about August, September, those are our summer months here in Florida. They're also known as the rainy season. They're also known as hurricane season because hurricane starts June 1st and goes all the way to November. So knowing that we are the peak of spring, and knowing that too, we have 4 seasons. So again, Florida doesn't show the seasons. So we have, fall, winter, spring, summer. But in Florida, it's hot, hotter, and hotter-ist. So we really, again, that's why temperature is so important. We have to go outside, figure out what degree temperature it is, figure out what the soil would be, and if that's an ideal time to plant the seeds that we have. And we'll get to that part later about seeds. Okay. So again, let's put these farming hats on. I'm going to ask you another question. In the comment below, I want you to put either an apple emoji or a broccoli emoji, okay? Or you can answer the question that pops up on your screen because we have those questions popping up too. All right, so here's the question. Who can tell me the difference between a fruit and a vegetable? So what is the difference between a fruit and a vegetable? Okay, so we're going to be checking the comments and see. If you said that the difference is that a fruit has seeds on the inside, you are correct. So a fruit has seeds on the inside and a vegetable is just a plant part. So did you know, for example, broccoli is a flower? This is correct. So broccoli is a flower. That blew my mind when I first learned that. So we eat the broccoli head before the flower blooms. So that's really cool. And if you haven't guessed already, most things that we eat that we think are vegetables are actually fruit. It's a very mind-boggling thing. But for example, a lot of growing up, I grew up learning that peppers were a vegetable. But really, botanically speaking, as a plant as a whole, the seeds are on the inside. So the seeds are on the inside, it's technically a fruit. But you can still call it a vegetable. No one's going to say anything to you. The most important thing is that you're eating it. So that's all we care about. So again, the fruit is the seeds on the inside, and a vegetable is just the plant part. Okay, cool beans. So now that we know that, it's the perfect time to grow right now. We're going to start actually our third step in the, planning our learning garden together. We're going to start our garden planner. So why don't you guys take your My Garden Planner worksheet out. I already cut these out, so you should have 2 pieces of paper in front of you. And most of those vegetables and fruit that you see on there will grow in the springtime. So I have on my sheet snap peas, cucumbers, tomato, carrots, beets, radish. Then this is a chili pepper and a lunchbox pepper or a sweet pepper. And I think this is a zucchini and an eggplant. I think there also was some pumpkin on there, and I think there was onion. You guys can also use that and plant that. Most of those things do take a while to grow. I didn't want to plant that. Doesn't mean you can't plant that. I didn't have seeds for that. That was the main reason. I didn't have seeds to plant. So that's the most important thing we have to understand is we're going to plant our garden, but we have to make sure that we have the seeds to plant our garden. So I already got seeds. So these are my seeds that I'm using. Okay, they're from Home Depot. You can go to any hardware store around here. Most of them will carry them, or you can go onto any seed website. We get our seeds sometimes from Johnny Seeds or Baker Creek. They have some good seeds, but these are at Home Depot. I know if you're social distancing right now, you don't want to leave your house. I know that could be hard, so you can always, again, order them online, or you can go into your fridge, like I said in the beginning, and you can harvest some of those seeds from the veggies you buy at the grocery store. It's not that hard. It's actually a really fun activity. I've done that a lot with my squash, and I get really good results. I've never not been able to grow something. Sometimes, though, it happens. Sometimes you get a bad seed and nothing grows, or it just had too much water, or it was just being finicky for whatever reason. So back to this. So now that we have our seeds ready, make sure you know what you're planting. I want you to put and place your veggies where you want them. So imagine that this outside box right here is your garden bed. So a garden bed is essentially where you're going to put your soil, your compost. It's going to be where you plant your garden. You can plant your actual, either your seeds directly, or you're going to plant your transplants that we plant today. So plants that you plant in your reusable containers, you can take those out and then put them in your garden bed. That's what when we say transplant, that's what that means. So you're taking one plant from its original home in either a reusable container, and you're placing it into another bed or its new home. Okay? So either or, you can plant directly or not, but I'm doing the transplant method today. And that's just because my garden bed isn't ready yet. But if you have a garden bed ready, you can directly seed. That's no problem. So again, start organizing how you want it. This is your garden bed. Each square is about a foot. If you don't know what a foot is about 12 inches, or big feet like me, you just grab this as a reference. So, just like temperature and sunlight and water and soil, space is almost just important for plants. So we know a lot of people have been joking, you go out, shopping or just briefly to get the essentials for food, for example. People are saying social distance. Well, plants like social distancing too. They need to be apart, because if they're on top of each other, they're going to grow on top of each other, and they're going to be competing against the same needs. Okay, so that's, for example, let's say you have your brother or your sister, and you're living in the same room. And sometimes this happens. Sometimes you have a sibling, you have to share the same room. Sometimes you guys really bug each other, right? Because you're trying to compete for the same, the same closet, the same bathroom, same supplies, and sometimes it gets really frustrating. You have to remove yourself, and you have to call your mom and say, "Mom, I can't handle whatever. He's bugging me." Well, in this case, they can't move. They don't have legs. So we have to advocate or help them and plant them where they should be planted. So again, about half a foot to a foot is ideal. And the reason that I put my plants like this is because the snap peas and the cucumbers, they do something called climbing. They climb and grow like a vine, and they need support. So I was thinking about putting a trellis, which if you don't know what a trellis is, it's just, it kind of looks like a fence, but it's a small fence, and you can make it out of bamboo, or you can get an already made trellis at Home Depot, or you can make one out of wood. It's very easy, but you're just giving that vining plant support it needs to grow up. Tomatoes also like to vine. They do vine frequently, but there are also other types of tomatoes that don't vine and will grow probably the size of you. So if you're a first grader or a second grader, and you're probably like here on me, right? Those tomatoes also will grow that height, and then they'll grow a little wide, probably as wide as me. Okay, so I put him in that corner because I kind of want to give them their space on their own trellis, and I didn't want to make a trellis for him. I wanted to get a non-biting tomato. Now these are what we call root crops, because they grow in the ground, and these are actually the roots of the plants. And the tops are the green parts that help feed the plant through a process called photosynthesis. If you guys are older, you know that photosynthesis is how the plants make their food. So this is a beet. This is a radish and a carrot. The beet and the radishes will grow for about a month or two, and then you can harvest. While the carrot takes about 3 months. And we're getting kind of toward the late end of spring because we only have like a month left of spring things to grow. So I kind of put them off the side. I'm going to try and experiment with it anyways, and just see what happens. But these guys are quick. So if you grow these now, they'll be ready right by the end of spring. And then we have peppers, like chili peppers and sweet peppers, and they're buddies. They're in the same family. And I just kind of put them together just because of that. And you can put them together or you can space them out. But again, about half a foot or a foot between each other is nice. And then we have our zucchini and eggplant. And I put these guys really far apart because, again, they get pretty big. I grew an eggplant at a school last year. It's still living strong. A lot of eggplants live very long lives. And that guy is probably, so I'm really tall. I'm like 5'11". And so eggplant will probably get to be about here on my hip and just as wide or wider. So they get pretty big. So you want to give them that space. Otherwise, if you plant plants around it, it's going to shade those plants out. And those plants won't be able to grow as big and strong. Same with zucchini. Zucchini won't get that tall, but their leaves get very, very big. So you have to be aware of that and notice that. And that's why I didn't really plant a lot next to it either. So as you guys are putting your plants together, again, I just want to remind you to make sure you look at your seeds, know what you're planting today. If you are planting, you don't have to plant with us today. You can plant later, but know that you're planting these seeds today, okay? All right, so again, I also want to remind you that you can share your plan with us by going onto Instagram or Facebook and using the hashtag FleetEDU for kids. So it's hashtag Fleet, F-L-E-E-T, EDU for kids, and we'll pop that on the bottom of your screen so you can share your garden. So you can share your actual garden plan, and you can show us gardening with you and your brother, your sister, your family, whoever you're in your house with. You can share that you're gardening and what your garden looks like in a couple months. We'd love to see it. We're gardening too, and we like to share what we learn together. And also too, if you have any questions throughout this process, please drop them in the comments. We'll try and answer them. Or you can email me directly, and I'll put my email on the bottom of the screen later or throughout this process, and you can email me directly. My email is Sara, SARA.Miller@fleetfarming.org, and we'll put that down there. We could be pen pals. We could be, we can ask questions to each other. We can research together. We can do fun experiments together. So definitely, email me your questions, and I'll give you answers, or I'll just, get to know you. And hopefully one day I get to teach you again in real life. That'd be great, right? Okay, so I think this is now the fourth step in the process. So again, let's review. The first step was knowing the temperature, right? The second step was knowing what day it is, what month is it, the season we're in, right? The third step was planning, literally planning on a worksheet or a piece of paper, whatever you have, what you're going to plant and where. And then the fourth step is seeding. So with that, I want to take a 5-minute break because I'm going to go outside with you guys and I'm going to seed with you together. So if you are able, again, you don't need anything really intense. All you need is some soil, which I got potting mix from a hardware store. All you need is a reusable container. You put holes in the bottom. You can also get an egg carton, a cardboard egg carton, or if it's not cardboard, you can poke holes with the pencil at the bottom of a styrofoam one. You can use that as your seed holder. I have a tray that I got at the hardware store where I'm going to seed. Also get some labels. So you'll need to label where you plant your seeds to remind you what you're growing. Because if you plant your seeds and then you leave them for a certain amount of time, you're going to forget what you plant where. Unless you have a really good memory, which I know a lot of you do. I don't personally have a good memory. So I'm going to write down what I plant and where for my own notes. Okay. So that's all you'll need. Oh yeah, and some water, a watering can or a spray bottle that's empty and washed and just put some water in there. I actually prefer a spray bottle because sometimes watering cans can be really, really heavy and you can actually dump too much water onto the seed and then it might drown the seed and give too much water to the seed and the seed won't grow. So spray bottles definitely are easier to handle. You can give it a spritz, like about 2 to 3 spritz on the seed itself. And then you can do that and water 3 times a day as needed. Again, farming is very observational. So when I say observational, like feeling and looking with your eyes, you want to touch the soil. If you're out there and you're going to check on your plants every day, because you should, because every plant is just like a pet. They need just as much love and attention as a pet. Don't think that they don't, because they do. So you have to go and check out them. You have to say, hey, hello, what's up? You have to, give them some water, and you have to test the soil too. So before you give it water, you have to say, put your finger up, and you have to test the soil and pat it and see if it's really dry or not, because sometimes it can still be really, really wet, and it won't need water. So definitely need to test before watering. But now that we have that, we're going to go outside and we're actually going to seed. So I'm going to do a little transition, take 5 minutes, and I'll see you in 5, okay? Hi guys, so I'm back, and again, we did our planning portion inside, and we learned a lot about what plants need to grow and how to, plan for your garden. So I'm out here on my front porch. Sorry if it wiggles, guys. I'm leaning on my table a little bit, but I'm on my front porch, and I'm going to plant some seeds with you. I have a seeding tray. These are what most professional farmers use. You can get these again at the hardware store. But again, you don't need these. You can use any reusable container that you have in your house. This can be, again, a yogurt container, a to-go container, egg cartons, whatever you have. Make sure you have labels. So these are what labels look like. They're blank pieces of just kind of plastic. You can use popsicle sticks, whatever you have around the house, pieces of paper. And I'm going to stick them in the tray once the soil is filled, so I know what I planted where, because sometimes we plant and we forget what we planted. So I'll do that with you guys. And these are my seeds again. So I'm going to plant some squash, tomatoes, eggplant, cucumbers, peppers, and zucchini. Okay. So I don't plant a lot of these, only a few. Again, you don't have to plant the entire packet, only plant what you're going to plant. So I'm probably going to plant maybe 2 or 3 of each of these because I don't need a lot. I don't have a big space. But if you have a really big space, you can grow as many plants as you want, or you can just practice growing because you like to practice growing plants. And then you can even, if you're bored, you can even sell them to your friends or give them as gifts. So just because you don't have enough space for them doesn't mean you can't still grow plants. A lot of people love them as gifts. Me and my friends trade plants all the time for fun. And it helps me learn more about other plants too. So that's a fun activity you can do with your friends after this as well. So I have some soil right here. I'm going to stand up, so you're probably not going to see my face for a little bit, but I'm going to sit back down after I do it. But I'm going to put some soil in my container so you guys can do that. So I'm filling it pretty much to the very, very top. And you can wet your soil to help prior. I'm not doing that. Some people do that. Some farmers do like to wet their soil before seeding. The whole point is just that you get water on to your seeds after you plant. So I think this tray is good. I don't want to plant the other tray because I don't think I need that right now. So I'm just going to take that part off. Okay. So now this is the tricky part. So on your seed packet, you should see on the back, it gives you instructions. Okay, if you can't read, that's totally fine because I'm going to tell you my secret. My secret to planting is take your pointer finger out, see the nail on your finger? That's as deep as you need to go. That's it. So usually it says on your seed packet most of the time about 1 inch to 1/4 inch depth. Another thing to think about is if your seed is really big, you want to plant it as deep as the seed. If it's a very small seed, you don't have to plant it as deep. And for the reason because of that is because a lot of plants like to have this reach to the sun. And so if it's too deep, it won't be able to reach to the sun as fast. But again, just use your fingertips. And I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to make some holes in my container. Just like that. So I'm only going a little deep. I barely make a hole really. Okay. So this is where your labels come into play. Mine are kind of labeled. I kind of was in a rush, but I'm going to put them so I can mark them and I'll know them later what I seed. So if you have these cell trays like I have, you can kind of separate them by rows. So, or I put mine into like 4 corners, for example, like this. And so each section has 3. I might even do less than that. I might do like 2 rows with peppers, and then like 2 with cucumber, 2 with eggplant, and then 2 with tomatoes, and then 2 with squash. If that makes sense. Oh yeah, and then 2 with zucchini. So you see how I did that there? So again, sorry about the overhead noise. Someone flying over me. But 2 rows will have 1 vegetable. Okay, but if you have a container, a reusable container, all you have to do is make holes and space them apart about 1 inch. So 1 inch, again, is about my first knuckle. So if you have a reusable container, for example, you'll fill it with soil. You'll make a hole at the edge, and then make a whole line, like a row. And so you'll put a seed there, and then make 1 inch, put a seed there, make another inch, put a seed there, and so on. So just make sure you have 1 inch apart from each other, and that should be enough. And then again, this is an only temporary situation. If you have an actual garden that you're planting in your backyard with your family, you can transplant or move these plants from this existing home to a new home. That process is going to be about a month. It takes about 4 to 6 weeks. So there's 4 weeks and 1 month, and there's 6 weeks is about 2 more extra weeks on top of that. So ideally, you want to wait about a month and a half for the plants to have its first 2 set of leaves. Okay, so when it gets 2 leaves and it's a little sprout, that's when you know it's about ready. Since it's outside, if you're on an outdoor porch area and you're leaving your seeds outside, you don't need to really have them acclimate, or that's a big word. So instead of acclimate, meaning transition or make used to the space. So if you're in a greenhouse, for example, most farmers say they have to harden off their plants. That just means that they're taking from the inside of the house where it's nice and cool and controlled to the outside where it's not as cool and controlled. But since our seeds will be outdoors for most of the time, you don't have to do that transition where you're moving it back and forth or usable container and then plant them into your learning garden. If you have questions about that process and you're a little confused, please either jot them in the comments or email me directly, and I'll walk you through the process easily and share resources that I use to help me with that process as well. Okay, so let's start seeding. So I, again, am going to put markers where I want to plant seeds, so I remember. So this has something on here, ignore that. I crossed that out on my end. All right. So we'll do squash first. So these, again, are really big seeds. See these seeds? Ooh. So this, again, will be about an inch deep. So you want to put them deep in the hole and cover them. And I usually do about a seed. If they're really big seeds like this, you only need to put one seed in the hole at a time. Yep. So if you're doing that with me, good job. So again, I'm only doing 2 little rows of that because I don't need a lot. So next up, we'll do some cucumbers. Over here. So these seeds are kind of big, but they're not as big. And you can probably plant these about your fingernail depth. So don't go too deep with these. And you can do 2 seeds in one hole, or you can do 1 seed. I'm doing 1 seed. The reason that farmers do more than 1 seed per hole is that some seeds will not grow. Sometimes you get a dud seed, meaning a seed that just wasn't fully made correctly. It just like was a seed that didn't have all its organs in place. So it didn't want to grow. There's a lot of reasons that seeds don't grow. Again, temperature could be one of them, watering them too much. So if they don't grow, don't think it's your fault. It could be so many reasons. So just keep trying again. That's the whole point about farming. You have to keep trying again and learn from your mistakes. We all make mistakes. Okay. So now we got cucumber down. I'm going to move over to eggplant. Put them over here. So these seeds are really, really tiny. They are super small. Can you see that? So it's really hard sometimes to grab these. So if you put more than 1 seed in the hole, don't be too hard on yourself. But again, these probably need less than your fingernail, but if you did a fingernail, that's totally fine. They most likely will grow. I'm probably putting 2 in these. So yeah, farmers, they want to make sure their seeds grow because that, they have to grow food for a living. And if they don't have anything to grow and sell, they're not making money. So they want to make sure that they grow something. And so they put more than 1 seed usually in 1 hole, depending. So now that's done. So I'm going to do some peppers. Sometimes these packets can be hard to open. Okay. So these are a little bit bigger than eggplants. These are what you really can get a lot at the grocery store. See those? So if you had a pepper for lunch or a sweet pepper, these are the seeds you'll find on the inside when you cut it open. So I'm gonna plant these right here. And I could probably put 2 in these holes too, because they're hard to handle. So if you put 2 in those holes, don't worry about it. And back to this weather, I mean, it's overcast today, but this is good farming weather because it's not too hot, you know? I'm not sweating too much. So it's good. Okay, so put those back. So now moving on to tomatoes and squash. So this tomato that I have here is a large red cherry tomato. And it will usually say on your packets whether it's determinate or indeterminate. These are big words, determinate and indeterminate. So determinate is, like I told you before inside, determinate means it's only going to grow a certain height. It's not going to vine. It's going to grow like a bush. So determinate, indeterminate, meaning, you know, like a vine, like it's going to grow forever. And so they need vines. So I was wrong when I told you that I was growing in a determinate tomato. I'm actually growing an indeterminate. So I'll have to trellis these as well, which is totally fine. I like trellising. It could be a fun thing to do. So I'm going to open these up. I'll show you again my seeding situation. These seed packets, man, sometimes they're just so hard. Okay. And these are even tinier. So if you are having trouble planting, again, don't be too hard on yourself, because look how tiny these are. Oh, they're falling out of my hand. You see that? So I'm going to plant probably 2 to 3 in these holes, because I'm not going to be able to always control. And if they all grow, like if all these seeds grow in each hole, like if you plant 3 seeds and they all grow at once, that's okay. What you can do is, we call that thinning in farming, when you thin out plants. So that just means that you're going to have to remove the other plants and keep the one that you want. So, for example, I usually choose the biggest one in the group. So when they grow, when they start sprouting, you'll see that there's some that will be smaller than the others. Or if they're all the same size, just pick the one that's in the middle. You know, you're choosing what plant you want to put in your garden. It's sad because the other ones you're kind of killing at the same time, but think about it like this. You want to grow a really healthy, strong plant, so you can't grow them all together because of spacing purposes. You need to space them apart. So if you can find a way to massage the soil and break them apart, you can do that. But our hands sometimes are really intense for little plants, and they might go into shock. So instead of breaking it apart, I would take some scissors and just cut the tops of the plants that you don't want. And then the plant that's originally in the hole will grow a little taller. And then you can transition that plant into your new garden space. So your learning garden, or maybe it's a little garden by your window, or maybe it's just a little pot right by your window in your house. So for example, you can grow basil or herbs in your house, and that's totally fine. I actually want to grow some herbs too, so maybe we'll do that later. But here, I'm going to show you my last crop, which is squash. And These are pretty big seeds. They're just kind of like the zucchini seeds. And I'm going to do one in each hole because, again, these are really big seeds. They're probably about an inch in itself. So we don't need to put too many in one hole. Okay, so that's it. And the last step is watering. I don't have my watering can full, and I'm not going to water on here because I don't want, just in case I spill, I don't want to make a mess on my computer just in case. So I'm going to water probably later, but know that watering is very much an observation using your eyes and your hands to feel. So again, this is a good example. So right now you can see, and I just spilled some water. You heard that. That was my watering cup. But so as you can see, this soil is really dry. You can see that. Like, it's not moist. It's very light in color. As soon as you water it, it's going to turn darker in color. And it's also going to feel wet. So every day, just like you feed your dog or your cat or your fish or yourself, you will, come outside, you'll look at it, you'll feel it. And then if it's dry, you'll take a watering can or a spray bottle and you'll spritz a little bit on the surface until it's moist. And then you'll come back probably like maybe midday. If you did it in the morning, you'll do it again. I like to water my seedlings at least 3 times a day. So it's getting enough water to grow. And you'll see that over time. You'll start seeing sprouts after the first week. It takes about 7 days to 10 days sometimes for a seed to sprout. So it's not going to happen overnight, but it will happen pretty quickly. So check back in. So today is Tuesday. I would say check by the end of the weekend to see if you have any sprouts. And again, you can comment and share with us your sprouts to see what's growing. And if you have any questions along the way, please email me, reach out to us, and we'd love to help you through your learning process of your garden. And that's pretty much it. Okay, so I'm going to go water my seeds now. And you can also water yours. And I really hope to see you guys soon. If you have any questions, again, just reach out to us. We'd love to answer them. We're also stuck in our house, so love things to do. So thank you so much for tuning in, and it was nice to meet you, and happy growing.